is this Unearthed ARTcana revisited Unearthed? Do you know what I mean?
It's Unearthed ARTcana Revisited Take 2.
It's Unearthed ARTcana Revisited because we are revisiting something, but it's of a revisited version of a class that we've revisited because we accidentally we lost the recording of us originally talking about this, so this is us doing a second quicker summary.
Yeah, I feel I've hit my head and developed amnesia about this particular Unearthed ARTcana.
There was an irretrievable data loss.
This is one of those things that happens. A wizard deleted the audio.
A wizard cast Modify Memory.
Yeah, definitely.
He cast silence on the audio.
But it's also just funny because it's this class is a remade class that we've already visited anyway. If you haven't guessed, this is a show where we talk about a subclass that's come out, and I draw it. Oh, I'm Theo, by the way.
I'm Neil.
And I'm Sam.
Basically, we talked about the new cool Genie Warlock, the revisited one from the new Unearthed ARTcana, but then we failed. That didn't work. So now we're going to quickly talk about it again, which is why our opinions are hopefully going to sound concise and perhaps almost like we've already talked about it at length a few days ago.
There might be not limited enthusiasm, but we've talked about it recently.
We'll just say things like, that's what it does.
It's
cool.
Good.
Yeah, cool. You know what, while we're here, we'll try a mild format change just to see how that feels. So we're all experimenting with new methods of talking. Wow. We're also recording at the wrong time of day. There's sunlight outside.
It's terrifying.
My hair's wet. This is a monstrous
I'm actually
day.
a drow. I have sunlight sensitivity, so I'm going to be doing everything with disadvantage.
I'm a Bodak who has hypersensitivity, so I'm taking damage every round.
You know what? I always suspected. There was always a suspicion.
Can you tell by my mouth?
And also, whenever the death stare you'd always give, and I
could kill a lot of people.
Yeah, there's one of those times that I looked at Neil and almost died, and I was like, that's a bit weird.
This is a spoiler from a few months away. At this rate. Anyway. Okay, I'll talk about basically this Unearthed ARTcana, if you've not watched the other videos we've done, was remaking some older Unearthed ARTcana classes. This one's the most recent remake, as it were. The original Genie Walk only came out, I guess, 6 months ago now, so a little while ago at this point. But this is a complete rework of it, which is kind of cool. And we like the original, but we like this one too.
Yeah, I think it came out in Subclasses Part 2.
So basically, when you choose your Warlock Patron, you choose the Genie, and now you choose which kind of Genie, so which element, so Earth, Air, Fire, or Water, so it's the Dao, the Genie, the Ifriti, or the Married, who are all very cool. We did a video about the Genie, specifically, ages ago, on Challenges. Maybe there'll be a link to that at the end of this video, if I'm smart.
Who knows?
We'll see about how smart I am. So when you choose that, you get an expanded spell list, is the first, notable thing which you get for this, and it's pretty cool. There's some cool spells in here. Obviously, there's some Genie generic spells you get, so everyone gets Detect, Evil, Good, Phantasmal Force, yeah, cool stuff like that, including Create Food and Water. I remember when we were talking about the Genie ages ago, we were pleased to see its spell list included stuff that would allow you to create a feast in front of you and move stuff around it. I think there's a little bit of that in there with the Create Food and Water. That's probably why that one's there. Obviously, though, you make protein bars with that spell, but you're just a Genie's Warlock. You're not an actual Genie yet.
No, it's just croissant.
Yeah, but you also get one spell, I believe. Yeah, one spell each spell slot essentially for your Warlock that is unique to your patron's element, and there's cool stuff in there,
which was very necessary because the Warlock spell list actually isn't that big.
Yes, definitely, and the damage types. There's not an appropriate spell of each level for an element. So if you wanted to have,
but there is the odd ones where you're like, oh my god, that's not in there, and it's that's strange. Very simple spells I don't think Gust of Wind is in the default tree. I don't think.
Sure, yeah.
Stuff like that. So it's well, now I can actually make the character I want to make.
Yeah, definitely. So it's really cool. And then when you have a 9th level spell, they all get Wish, which is pretty cool. and it makes a lot of sense.
Very thematic.
I can't remember, we did talk about it briefly, but like 9th level spells work weirdly for Warlock. Wow, that was a lot of was noise in that. But
work weirdly for Warlocks, as they sell.
They get a Mystic Arcanum, which is basically like an extra spell slot that also levels up past their regular
that's right,
5th level spell slot.
Yeah, yeah.
Having Wish always prepared, presumably for that, means that you can have more than one kind of prepared.
Wow,
which is basically gives you a big improvement. You don't need to have, like all these domain spells, it means you always have Wish, even though you probably won't always have Wish.
yeah. I do like that there's a lot here. Obviously, I think in the old version of this class, you weren't really tied to a specific element. You could kind of change it up. So the spell list for all that was kind of... It had a bit of everything, but not enough of everything, as it were.
It had stuff like Enlarge Reduce, things like that in there, typical like just magic powers,
Yeah.
doing weird stuff with magic.
But anyhow, in the format change, we're going to jump quickly to 6th level, because the other thing you get that's to do with your patron's element specifically is Elemental Gift at 6th level. You get a damage resistance that is relevant to your Genie, which is really cool. I think before, again, it was something that it was a damage type that you would basically like choose what it would be for like between long rests kind of things. Fine.
And you'd share it with your compatriots.
Because there was the whole bond.
There's like a tether thing, yeah.
Tethering, which is now absent now.
No more. Forget anything about that.
Forget your teammates.
It was weird anyway.
It was a bit strange.
It was useless.
It was pretty useless. At 6th level, you also get you get as a bonus action, you can gain a fly speed of 30 feet that lasts for 10 minutes. And you can do that equal to your proficiency bonus. Yeah, this Unearthed ARTcana, there's been a couple of things that have used your actual proficiency bonus as the limit of your of a resource, which is actually it's pretty cool, and because it means obviously it levels up with you.
Yeah,
and
it's more consistent as well. I guess if you're like planning things for your party, like they're not going to be getting, how much they're going to have. All
definitely,
I think it balances rolled characters.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, I was thinking that as well. Yeah, because I've been making you guys play with some characters whose stats have been completely randomly generated, like in order and everything. So you might not have the perfect stats. You might not start with 18 charisma. It means that everyone's kind of on an even footing for that, which I actually really appreciate. And having, a fly speed at 6th level that is, 10 minutes, not concentration, that's pretty good. Pretty awesome.
It's pretty cool.
And it's like, 6th level, I feel like that's early enough that you'll still get a lot of use out of it, and you won't have to be like, oh, I already have like 10 other ways to get a fly speed.
Yeah, particularly for Warlocks, because Warlocks have a lot of invocations that are just like, oh, I can cast this spell at will.
Sure, yeah.
So it's almost like getting kind of a couple of limited castings of fly.
Sure, yeah.
For free, which fits in the class.
Definitely.
Yeah. It validates a couple of their other abilities, but just don't take those as a million invocations.
Exactly, yeah. So those are the things that you get that are to do with specifically your patron's element. It makes it actually a choice, where before you would presumably like still have to choose just with your DM, like what your patron is, or your DM would come up with it, but now it's actually like set in stone if you're a DAO.
Nice.
End of the video. The jokes are done. Now you actually, the character starts being made from there, I think, and you can actually go really hard with the theming of that, which is very cool.
You also get your elemental theming from Genie's Wrath as well, which ties into the vessel. So you gain a vessel, which is basically like your lamp.
Yeah.
Well, before it was kind of just like a lamp that you would kind of bind people to, almost like you were the holder of it. It wasn't really about you.
You were putting other people in your lamp, kind of, but not really.
Yeah. Well, more explicitly now, it is your lamp. You can now use Bottled Respite as an action and enter your vessel. Yeah. And you can do that for a number of hours, I believe, equal to twice your proficiency bonus. So
yeah.
Just short rests to begin with, but eventually climbing up to long rests.
Yeah, which is awesome. Really, really cool.
Which is really cool. It's also a space that you can leave items in. So that's always a cooler bag of holding, which is something which we've talked about, I know, amongst ourselves and before, of trying to make a bag of holding cooler than it is. Because it's so ubiquitous.
It just becomes something that no one takes responsibility for, and everyone uses as like, oh, we'll just put it in that, and then everyone forgets about it. Like, who's carrying it? I think if you're playing, like, in real life, like, not online or anything, and you have a prop, that could be very cool. But I think with this...
Oh, definitely.
With this, you could have a prop as well, like, have a map of the inside of your bottle. and draw that out and stuff. That'd be cool too. Anyway.
Yeah, it also gives you Genie's Wrath, which gives you some of your extra elemental damage, as we were just talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Equal to your proficiency bonus again, once per turn, so you get that on your spells as well, as long as it made an attack roll.
So all your Eldritch Blastings and your Pact of the Blade, your Bladings.
I can see some very good synergy if you are a fire Genie, a Freety, because of all your spells are already dealing fire. This is just bonus fire on the fire on the fire, fire.
Yeah.
So it's like you're like scorching rays and stuff like that.
That's true, yeah.
The bottle actually levels up in quite a cool way, because again, it gets nicer and, you can stay in there for long rests. But at level 10, you can bring other people into your bottle, up to 5 willing creatures.
Yeah.
And that's great for just resting in there, but it also means a short rest only takes 10 minutes in there.
Which is really good.
It's so good for being on adventures, because the amount of times you're dungeon crawling or even just in pursuit and you feel like, oh my god, we need to rest. If it's a 10-minute rest and say the monk is still fine and you're chasing an enemy, everyone can hop in the bottle.
Yeah.
And have a 10-minute rest while the monk chases down the guy.
Yeah, definitely. Because an hour is a short rest, and I feel like, at least from my DMing perspective, the difference between we're going to sit down for an hour is huge if you're like in a dungeon. But like 10 minutes, you can kind of keep the state of the world the same and the dungeon the same without it feeling too odd.
Yeah.
They might not find your party in 10 minutes.
That's the thing, yeah. But if you kill some guards, then you wait an hour, then like, why has no one discovered that, potentially? So then you have to do encounters and stuff, anyway. But 10 minutes,
And there's some cool little more eccentricities with the bottle that make it even more kind of usable and fun. One is that you basically are aware of the outside world.
Oh, yeah.
So that means that you're not just like locked off in there. You can actually choose to jump out. With Sanctuary Vessel, when you have friends in there, you can just evict them kind of at will if you don't want them to be inside there. So you could use it potentially for secret meetings.
Oh yeah, that's true. And snooping on other people's secret meetings.
Just take a step in here.
Depending on what you decide to make your vessel, it could be a very innocuous item.
Definitely, yeah.
To leave somewhere. Although, if you're going by the original rules that they had one of those little aside boxes that we did talk about last time, that talks about how when you choose your pact at 3rd level, you should have your vessel change as well to reflect the pact that you chose. So I think by that point it'll probably look a bit more ornate, so maybe more thieveable.
Sure, yeah.
I think that's pretty much it for what the vessel gives you. I mean, there's rules here for recreating it once it's destroyed, because it has an AC and hit points.
There's a lot of words, as usual, for these things, yeah.
All those goodies, just in case, somebody decides to target your vessel on the table. Because if you all jump in it during a fight...
Yeah, then a smart person would know to do that, yeah.
Because again, it's an action, so if a dragon's breath is like coming in,
you jump inside.
You can all hop in the bottle. And then it does need stats for if somebody hits it.
Yeah. And again, like, I guess if you have a villain who actually knows the party quite personally, perhaps, they would potentially know to target that. In the same way that they might know to steal a wizard spellbook. Now, this is a colossal dick move, and not necessarily very fun, but depending on how things go, that could be cool.
With some use of heat metals and things like that.
That's true. I think it is a real shame that the line isn't in here currently about how it should change to like there used to be where it said, if you change. If you put Pact of the Blade, it becomes a sword, like an ornate sword, or if you choose the Pact of the Tome, it becomes like a huge scroll in like a scroll case.
Bound in red dragon wing, I think was the description they gave.
But but otherwise, it's very cool. It's much more thematic than tethering a guy with like a wind beam.
The weird thing about the beam was it was visible. Yeah. It lasted a long time, and was like gave you perception bonuses and cast abilities through them.
Yeah.
But the fact that it was always visible was weird.
It was odd, wasn't it?
You could do some weird things with like Warlock, because of like Warlock has like Eldritch Mind or whatever, which lets you see through the eyes of someone.
Oh yeah.
So you could do some weird shenanigans with binding someone, them going in the room, you casting spells through them, seeing through their sight.
Yeah.
Kind of almost turning them into your familiar. But that's a different class to being having a genie as your patron. That's something else. That's like a puppeteer almost.
Could be cool.
Could be cool.
Put that one, but keep working on that one, guys.
Just a bit random, but what's the level like the keystone thing for Warlocks? It's something to do with getting their spells back after like a minute or something, isn't it?
Eldritch Master is what it's called. You can spend 1 minute to talk to your patron, and you regain all your spell slots from your packed magic feature.
Yeah.
So you basically you could take a minute to get your spell slots back. Well, I guess potentially that in terms of that, if you are like in a pursuit situation, you could get in the bottle and hide somewhere maybe for a minute. Like a minute, and get your spell slots back. That could actually be good.
I couldn't remember exactly what it was, but I felt like it was something similar. But yeah,
I'm imagining if you're in a dragon's like lair in its hoard. You run around the corner, everyone gets in the bottle, and you can, because it's just another like ornate thing in a pile of gold. Hide there, you could probably hide for a minute. Like your DM's probably gonna have to make some like perception checks and stuff for searching for you. But if it's like hidden amongst other stuff, you could potentially get a minute in combat to get some spell slots. I think that could be cool.
That could be cool, yeah. Even just 10 minutes for the short rest.
Yeah, definitely. If you can sneak it in, definitely.
So at level 14. You are granted a limited wish.
Ooh.
Essentially breaks down to your patron granting you a small wish, and as an action you can basically request the effects of a spell that is of 6th level or lower and has a casting time of 1 action, and it can be from any spell list. You don't need the requirements for it, including cost components, which is pretty awesome. So like obviously the first thing that comes to mind is like Raise Dead or Revivify, that kind of stuff. If your party's caught in a pinch, once you've done it, you can't use it again until you finish 1d4 long rests. So it's potentially could be a little bit annoying if you roll a 4 on that, and it's like, I can't use it till next week. But...
Yeah, sorry guys. I guess especially if you're playing in a campaign where no one's really paying attention to time, like passing over a long time, and you end up doing like
20 sessions
leveling up twice in one day, kind of thing. Actually, think of that reminds me of that cleric thing. I think cleric 10th level clerics can entreat their their deity to divine intervention, and I think it says like, you can request a spell, for example, as like a good example of what you could do. But yeah, this is really cool, and any spell list for Warlock is awesome.
It is good, but I think as we talked about last time, like limiting it to spells that only take 1 action to cast does mean you miss out on some pretty fun spells.
Yeah, that was my exact thing.
That was your bugbear.
Oh yeah.
Because I was like, look, let's think about all these cool spells. And I'm like, what about like Hero's Feast?
Really appropriate, really thematic, but
it doesn't work, unfortunately.
Yeah. In the original version of this class, it is actually similar to the version of it. At first, it looks very different, but then you realise that it's because originally you could give like 500 gold to have Legend Lore cast for you, or you could cast Legend Lore once a day, and then you could give money to have it reset, which was awesome. So this is similar, but I wish this did have that like. If you can provide treasure for components to your patron, maybe putting it in your bottle to get that back. Maybe, I guess the issue with that potentially would be that now it's not just non-combat spells, it could be any spell. And obviously there's some pretty strong fighting 6th level spells.
Yeah, 6th was pretty strong.
Yeah, I've got like 500 gold just lying around. There you go.
It would leave it maybe for if there was a bit of a more open-ended description on the end, like... But in exchange for certain things, genies have been known to, and if you talk with your DM, maybe you can convince your patron to, something like that.
I would be very happy to include stuff like that, just because it'd be fun.
Because unlike most other patrons, a genie's a thing. Like, it's alive and there and more talkable to than a lot of the other patrons.
And they do interact with mortals more frequently than some other creatures that can be patrons.
And that's what's missing from this class is the old send them to the menagerie button.
Oh, yeah.
That's what they ended up removing.
Yeah, it's a shame. It was very funny.
What we liked about the original is that it kind of forced you to have a different kind of a relationship with your patron than you might expect from something like the Great Old One, where it's very possible that your patron doesn't really know you exist. Whereas with this one, the old version of it, it was kind of more overtly that you knew each other on a more personal level. And you could still do that, but I think they were potentially just trying to make it a little bit more open how you approached it by doing this. Oh, and yeah, the only other thing that I thought was... I forgot to mention when we were talking about the damage resistance, this is the only way that I'm aware of to get resistance to a physical damage type without getting resistance to slashing, piercing, and bludgeoning. You just get bludgeoning resistance if you have a Dao as your patron, which I thought was neat.
Yeah, good class.
Yeah, so I went with I was doing a Dragonborn, and I was going with a Marid, which is the water one, and they got a Arabic teacup as their vessel. I thought that was cool.
It is cool. I agree.
Thank you. I was trying to think of what would be a cool, familiar for this specific class, but then a lot of the familiars are the Warlock specific familiars, because if you go back to the chain, you can have a slightly higher CR creature, but there's like Pseudo Dragon Quasit, which is like a little demon guy, or like an imp, I think. There wasn't an elemental.
Pixie as well.
Yeah, that's right. There wasn't an elemental. I wish there was an elemental choice. That was appropriate.
Like a little Mephit, but you said that the Mephits weren't strong enough.
Yeah, it's only half. It's only CR 1/2. So it'd be cool if this class, gets like a book, it would be really cool if that book also had a couple of elementals in it. CR1 elementals that you could have as a familiar. I think that'd be very cool.
Just call it like the Genie's familiar, and then say like, if you're this XXX, give it like 4 abilities.
Yeah.
And then you get one of them if you're it. Because some of those familiars are very powerful. They have things like polymorph and stuff like that.
Yeah, and the pseudo dragon, if you sting a guy and they fail their save real hard, they get screwed.
They do.
So hard, which is hilarious. They get paralyzed, I think, for an hour, which is bananas. It's an easy save, but sometimes when you're DMing, you roll a 1 on a save. And then your boss is knocked out for an hour. But yeah, I was thinking a pseudo dragon would be a cool one for a Dragonborn Warlock to have.
Definitely.
It's one of those things where it works really well, and it's kind of half the reason why like pseudo dragon is cool. I feel like you can go really in on the theming, but it's like the only way to get one as a familiar is to be a warlock.
Yeah.
Pact of the Dragon sorcerer should definitely get a way to have one as well.
That'd be cool. Yeah, that would be cool actually. I would definitely, if I was playing a Pact of the Dragon Warlock, I'd consider going a Patron drag. How's it go? Oh yeah, there isn't a Dragon Pact. There should be a Pact.
No, there should be. I was thinking that right as you were saying that.
We had talked about this a while ago because there's a Dragon Sorcerer.
Yes.
And a Dragon Sorcerer should be able to get a Pseudo Dragon from it. That'd be cool. But there should be a Dragon Pact. Like, why isn't there like an ancient dragon?
Tiamat.
Warlock? Yeah, Tiamat. That'd be cool. But yeah, we liked all these classes in this Unearthed Arcana. Obviously, I probably should have said at the beginning. Maybe I wrote it on the screen. Let's hope I wrote it on the screen instead. To check out the link in the description for the PDF, and also there is a survey in there for the previous Unearthed Arcana. They do rely on the surveys to get detailed feedback on these things. So if you do actually have a strong opinion about some of the other classes, then that's a good thing to do. And if you want to know what a good opinion to have on them is, why not watch the other videos here, where we'll tell you what to think about them. Spoilers, most of them are pretty good.
Oh, yeah, there was one thing about the Genie, something I remember mentioning last time, which I quite like.
Oh, yeah.
That was that it went from being quite a passive class,
yeah,
with a lot of its abilities being things that you set up out of combat, to having more things it can actually do in combat, but also you choose when to use them, like the short resty kind of stuff.
Yeah. And
all the bottle things. And this better spell list, it's a lot more, I choose to do this now, rather than just like, I always have this connection, always have this resistance.
Have this thing happening. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
We did like the original Genie, but I think this one's just... Personally, it's more customizable in a way, because before, you had these fun abilities, like there's the Genie, zap them to the Genie house. That was cool, but also it was something that you would do... And it was such a specific thing that you would end up doing every session, and it's just it's not really got anything to do with your character necessarily. It's just it was cool, but maybe it was a bit over the top.
Yeah, I think with the first one, I think there's maybe a bit of we're excited with the premise of the character
more so than the actual execution.
Whereas this one's probably mechanically tighter.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I feel like there's still room for a lot of those old abilities, but maybe put them on items you give to your players.
Yeah.
Maybe a one-use thing to get to send someone to the Genie court, but it's more powerful. Perhaps that could be good.
Or just have it if your warlock casts banish, that's what happens.
Oh, that could be cool.
Because it's technically still a harmless demi-plane or whatever. What the description is.
It's true.
And that that could still always be fun, because then it opens up a bit more for, the banishment stuff.
Definitely. Yeah.
And the gold thing, I feel that's any warlock who doesn't try and interact with their patron, particularly when they're interactable with, almost like a genie.
Yeah.
I think that's a big mistake. You can get the other effects if you just want them and want that from the game.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I think the idea of filling your bottle up with treasure and saying to your patron, "Hey, that's for you. Can I, my lord, Merry Christmas." Probably wouldn't say Merry Christmas.
Please bequeath upon me the ability to...
Please, I really need to cast Mirror Image!
It's all I've ever wanted. I wish. Oh.
I wish upon you, my mighty Ifriti.
I wish I had a hero's
face. I
face.
need magic missile!
That's a point, actually. I wonder, can you use that 14th level thing to cast a lower level spell at sixth level?
I would almost certainly say yes.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you allow that?
Yeah, I'd be happy for that.
Like a 6th level invisibility.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Anyway, so yeah, check out the other videos from this Unearthed ARTcana if you want. I probably will have the playlist at the end of this video. There'll be the playlist, and there'll be a link to what was the video I said that there'll be a link to. Anyone remember?
The Genie that we did. The Genie?
Oh yeah, the Genie. Yeah. The Challenge Raiders episode.
Challenge Raiders.
There'll be two cards. There'll be two videos. They'll be on screen. Hopefully now. Maybe. Look, there they are.
One.
I'm ducking out of the way of it, even though I'm not on screen. Whoa.
No, you probably aren't. Anyways, thanks very much. I would say good night, but it's the middle of the day, which is why Neil's bird is awake. So if you hear a squeak, then that's fine. It's just a bird.
Now, you only got to say sorry at the end, because those are the people that were really mad.
Yeah, people... To be fair, if you've watched all the way to the end, I am sorry. But I'm not going to sign off by saying I'm sorry, because that's the Drawfee Channel's thing, that they apologise in their videos, and I'm not stealing nothing. If you think you should be apologised to for this video, then that's fine.
You know what you got yourself in for.
Yeah, well, yeah, you're here now. It's too late. You didn't pay for it.
Done.
Is this the energy we're going for?
I might cut this, depending.
Is this the kind of energy we wanted?
We are the Warlock patron of the subscribe. We haven't ended any of these videos by telling people to subscribe or anything.
No,
but if you want us to be your patron, then you got to level up to level 1 Warlock and subscribe, and then we'll grant you boons at some point. I guess
maybe.
The boon is you get to watch a dumb video every now and again.
Sounds like a curse to me.
It sounds like a blessing. Anyway, I think that's the end.
Yeah.
So peace.